Large numbers in the book of Numbers actually can be quite problematic. We're told that there are 600,000 plus fighting men. People calculate that out to maybe 2.5 million people altogether. Now, here we're not dealing with the question of whether God could have multiplied them that much. Of course, he could have. The question is some of the logistics that we encounter in the book of Exodus and in Numbers. If we have a group of 2.5 million people, we have to think about what kind of mass that creates. For instance, when they're marching from, or traveling, I should say really, from the crossing of the Red Sea down to Mount Sinai. Okay, if perchance they're able to walk 10 abreast, which through some of that terrain would not be possible, and if they're walking in pretty close ranks, which they probably weren't because they have elderly and children and animals and carts, a line of 2.5 million people would actually stretch from the Red Sea to Mount Sinai. That is, the back of the line would not yet have left the Red Sea when the front of the line arrived at Mount Sinai. That's certainly not the picture that we get in the book. If we have that many people stretched out, they're walking about 7-8 miles a day, perhaps. And if they're walking in that way, it would take hours, days, for that whole group to pass a certain point. Yet they cross the Red Sea in a single night. So we get the impression that maybe there aren't quite that many people there. Imagine if Pharaoh's got his 600 chariots. If there are 600,000 men, that's 1,000 per chariot. Take them down. Yet that doesn't seem to be an option. If we had that many fighting men trying to circle Jericho, we'd need concentric circles, dozens deep, for them to do so. Some of the logistics just don't seem to work out. Is there a solution? Well, we wish we had a better one, but at this point, the one that's the most common and solves most of the problems, though has its own problems, is that the word thousands in Hebrew is very similar to the word for clans or tribes or military units. And so it's very possible that as they number out each tribe, when they talk about Reuben, for instance, having, say, 56,000, okay, 56,600, that would be more like 56 clans, 600 people. Okay, that makes it very different, of course. With that kind of numbering, you're down to about 20,000 people. And that makes it a much more manageable, logical kind of number for the situations that the Bible actually portrays. This isn't a matter of not trusting the Bible. It's a matter of trying to make sure that we are reading it correctly. When there's a problem that I sense in Scripture, I usually figure it's my problem, not the Bible's problem. And so then I look for ways that I can try to read differently that would make sense. So that's one of the ways that we can potentially resolve this one. Again, it's not a resolution without problems, but it's the best we've got at this point that I know of.